Chris Gogoel of Quokka, welcome. It's good to talk to you. What are some of the challenges, obstacles that you see agencies dealing with as they're trying to either stand up a DevSecOps environment or operate in one that they've already stood up? Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. Glad to be here. So, from our perspective in the mobile world, Android and iOS development, what we really see is when we're looking at guidance coming out from, for example, the White House executive order in 2021 and improving the nation's cybersecurity, and subsequent releases from NIST and other places beyond that initial requirement, is a lot of agencies have focused on fulfilling that initial set of requirements. Let's say, for example, I need to be able to scan my applications for CVEs that I package with my app potentially through these third-party libraries. And in 2021, when that first release happened, and to be honest, a lot of the world started looking at software supply chain more seriously and software bill of materials more seriously, that was a good first step. And so agencies had kind of a laser focus. Let's fulfill this first set of requirements. But what was we've seen has been lost a little bit in some agencies is, all right, we've checked that box. Now what's next? So NIST has released some follow-on guidance that says, hey, you shouldn't only be looking for CVEs. You should be doing some binary analysis to look for behavioral issues and zero-day vulnerabilities as well. Well, if agencies in their procurement process hadn't already kind of been looking forward at some of these upcoming requirements, the next generation of requirements, their tooling that they chose to fulfill that first set might not be prepared or even ready to help them fulfill that second set of requirements, that would be coming subsequently to help them further secure themselves. So, in general, it's having some identified processes and part of the procurement process and implementation process to look not only at how to put the fire out, but how to build after the fire has been put out into the next set of requirements.
What have you seen organizations do to deal effectively with that idea? I get the way that you framed it is pretty instructive as to why it's a problem. What do you
Mhm.
do with that to leap past that?
A lot of those guidance papers, the other similar things that come out, like the EO, the executive order from the White House, will have open comment periods. So organizations from across the board, vendors, other government agencies, thought leaders, industry bodies, will be able to put comments in as to what they think about the requirements stated. So I think even looking back at that executive order, there was a few comments in there from some people. I think one was from BlackBerry, for example, that had some of this forward-thinking requirements in there. So I would encourage, in order to help solve that and address that problem, look not only what the initial requirement that comes out is, but look at the comments that come back from industry, both vendor, government, and around the world, and see what those kind of forward-thinking people in the industry bodies think about, hey, this is great, but we should also be doing this. And when you're getting ready to put that fire out, making sure that you're looking across that horizon at both areas.
Are agencies getting better in your view of looking at their potential collaboration partners and saying, help me, first of all, and secondly, maybe even more proactively, just going ahead and adopting things that they see other organizations doing?
100%. So we participate, power a program at CISA, a shared service for mobile security, centered around two different use cases. One of which is securing government-developed mobile applications. So CISA has been offering this service out of the Cybersecurity Shared Services Office. It's called the Mobile App Vetting Program. And when we started going operational with this program, I believe it was beginning of 2023, the program gained an ATO, and we've seen agencies jump on board, getting ready to take advantage of any tooling that they have, especially tooling that's offered to them by people like CISA, where some of the cost may be offset for them. So I definitely think agencies are ready and raring to adopt tools. And outside of that program, we've also seen lots of interest just directly about kind of that forward thinking model. Yes, I can check my box with this report that you've given me, for example, this test report you've given me, but how do I integrate that as part of my everyday process so that when I get asked to prove compliance, I don't have to go spend 2 weeks putting a report together. I can just hand them off something I've already had.
how should someone look at the long view of this? How does one measure whether they're on the right track? It sounds like maybe it's something that can be a little bit, it sounds like it can be something that is difficult to measure, that it's difficult to put metrics on top of.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and this is where we rely on our industry security leaders like CISA and NIST, in fact. So they've released guidance that is probably in the global scale, probably 10 years ahead of its time, specifically for mobile. So looking back to 2018, I believe it was 2019, NIST introduced some guidance around mobile security for devices, for example, bring your own device and corporate own devices. And to this day, most agencies haven't fully implemented it yet. It's because they're looking at solutions, putting together innovative solutions to cover off all possible, or as many as they can, threat channels out there. So I would encourage, similarly on the DevSecOps side, to look to NIST and CISA, digest those guidance papers and see, really how far along am I? I've got 5 of the 10 capabilities implemented, or 7 of the 10, and then it's easier to judge yourself based off some of that more advanced, structured guidance that they're putting out.
It's great to have you on the program, Chris. Thanks very much for joining me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Francis.